Hello everybody, and today we are diving into a topic that's on everyone's mind, the unlocking of human potential in the age of AI. And for generations we've pondered, so what makes us uniquely human? And now with the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, we have to ask ourselves, is AI a threat to our human identity, which is what we've been discussing in recent podcasts, or is it the ultimate tool to unleash our creativity, our problem solving, and our very essence? So over the next 20 minutes, I'll be joined by David Gerteen and Professor Clive Holtham, and we'll explore how this new era of technology is reshaping our work, our skills, and our very definition of what it means to be human. Now, I appreciate that's a very broad topic. And so there could well be some narrowing. So, for example, what about starting with, does AI threaten the key aspects of humanity which have helped us to evolve and survive? So let's start with that and see where that takes us. Clive, what are your initial thoughts about
Well, thanks for such a huge challenge, Ron.
that?
I see there being three key aspects of humanity. The first is the extraordinary richness of ways that we communicate and have dialogue with each other, including the skill of listening. And I find that a very distinctive aspect. The second is the imaginative capability, which is at the heart of creativity and which we see so much in small children. But although we do achieve that with society at a higher level, I do wonder if that, is at risk of dwindling away. So that would be the second aspect. And then the third aspect is caring. I mean, all animals and possibly organisms care for each other. But there's something in humans which makes us able to care for people we don't know, have never seen, and that seems to me quite distinctive. And many of my own anxieties about the future are built around these three distinctive humanistic qualities.
So just to repeat them, the first one was extraordinary,
Extraordinary richness of
extraordinary
communication,
richness,
dialogue.
and
I would
then
say,
imaginative creativity, especially pointing out children where that went. And the third one was a distinctive caring. Was that right?
caring beyond the family and the group of people you actually know.
Three really distinct human characteristics. David, do you want to add to that? Or
Okay, I've got a few more. I actually did a little bit of prep, and I've got a little list of characteristics here that I'll share in a moment. But if we think about human evolution, and I think one of the real distinguishing features that distinguishes us from the animal kingdom is language and our ability to pass down our knowledge from generation to generation culturally. So that's probably the thing that really has ensured not just our survival, but also our dominance and possibly the seeds of our downfall. But the other things I jotted down here was curiosity, which Clive really touched on there with children. I think that's a big part of it. Reasoning, and especially reasoning together. There's a lot of research that shows we're not terribly good at reasoning as individuals, but we're far better at it when we come together. So-called collective intelligence, and of course, if we can reason well, that leads to better decision making. So that's all part of it. I think what Clive said about caring, I didn't have it on my list, but it's a big one in my thinking. I think. Because I've often wondered, what's driven me as an individual, and the two words I always come up with are curiosity and caring. We do care beyond just our family and community. Maybe not all of us, but the majority of us passionately care. I mean, the three of us now are talking about the future of the world, and we're not going to be here that much longer. Why the hell do we give a shit, to be honest? I mean,
Thank you for that, David.
I mean, I sometimes wonder about Donald Trump. I think, you know, at his age, why he loves playing golf. Why bother? No, okay, in his own particular way, he clearly cares about something, and maybe not the same things we care about, but there's something going on there. Empathy, clearly, which is part of caring, and of course the other big one is collaboration, our ability. It's our social ties, ability to form relationships, the ability to connect, the ability to collaborate. Now, all these things, pretty much all of those, add Clive's as well, are things that really Gen AI. I mean, in some ways, what's Gen AI doing? Gen AI is faking it all. That's the word I was looking for. It's faking it. It can't do any of these things like we can.
All right, so
So
you've both mentioned some very distinctive human qualities that suggest our uniqueness, all right? And I would add to that, of course,
I'm sure.
human ingenuity and and we are highly adaptable. I think we don't sometimes recognize well enough how adaptable humanity is to changes. But having said that, with all these wonderful things, then why are we worried about AI then? I mean, unlocking the human potential in the age of AI, are we saying it's not a problem? We've identified these things, or I'm going to suggest, for argument, that one of the things that I think holds us back, despite these unique characteristics, is our limiting beliefs. Human being, you know, it wasn't so long ago that human beings thought we were going to fall off the end of the world. It was a flat world. Do you remember? And Roger Bannister was another good example of how we thought it was biologically impossible to break the 4-minute mile. And all of a sudden, once he did it, there was a succession afterwards, which was suggesting limiting beliefs. I'm just wondering if that can be brought into the conversation in terms of unlocking human potential. Are our limiting beliefs holding us back? Or why aren't we doing this then, as well as we think we should?
I think, Ron, the worry I've got is that if you look back at, you know, the three that I mentioned, communication, imagination, caring, over the centuries, there are fantastic examples of these things going right. But unfortunately, and, you know, I would say particularly in the 20th century, we've also got plenty of examples of them going wrong. So we as humans, and this is nothing to do with technology at all,
Yeah.
are well able to mess things up, if I can put it in very simple terms. And, you know, my fear with AI is not AI, it's the way that this human ability to mess things up will, you know, could actually be quite disastrous unless we're very, very careful. So I fear humans far more than I fear AI, and I think we urgently need a dialogue of the type you're kicking off now to address that particular issue.
But it's like all of our tools, isn't it? That they can be used for good or for bad. And even more so, I think, with AI.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering how we might, how we believe that AI might actually help us speed up, overcome some of these, you know, limiting beliefs. I've mentioned one. Clive has mentioned that we've got a history of messing up. Humans, we might worry more about humans. Can AI actually contribute to us unlocking our human potential? Especially as we were saying, in terms of survival, evolution. Will AI speed up the evolution of humanity? Or is that too broad?
I think the worry I've got is about unsophisticated understanding of the tools.
Okay.
There being a natural tendency to look for quick wins from these tools before we as a society and individuals really understand what some of the negative implications could be. So at the moment, we see governments across the world enthusiastically promoting AI, for example, in education. I've touched earlier on small children. Do we really want to see our small children introduced to AI too early? Because to develop a child takes many years. And if you interfere with that in some distinctive way, we could be damaging people for life.
I suspect we already have with mobile phones. Never mind AI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting when you look back at technology. I mean, I grew up in the days when we didn't have GPS. Well, we didn't have calculators. I've still got my old slide rule, so now we no longer have to rely on slide rules or log tables even to do calculations. We've got a calculator. GPS, we don't have to read maps or have any sort of sense of direction. We let the GPS get us lost, which it did to me last weekend. And a lot of people sort of rather nostalgically regret the passing of, I guess, slide rules and log tables. I don't particularly. But I think the thing about AI is the fear that it's going to replace our thinking, and that for me that's the one thing that we need to educate our children not to do, to see it as a thinking aid, not as something to replace our thinking, but also as adults. Even once we're in our 20s and 30s, we really shouldn't be sitting back and letting AI do our thinking for us. But I mean, when it comes to one of the things I just mentioned in terms of our survival has been our ability to reason together. And even then, there's aspects like groupthink and what have you. Even then, we're not always terribly good at it. But inviting AIs into the conversation in the sense that you have a conversation and then you ask AI to give its perspective, or ask AI to give several different perspectives, or ask AI to criticize what you're doing, to bring it in. It's not even as an equal partner, but to bring it in as a agent provocateur, whatever the word is, to provoke our thinking. We need to be doing that rather than seeing it as a replacement.
So my thoughts in terms of AI and will help us with our evolution or not. The concern that you've just mentioned, how technology has sort of got to the stage, particularly with AI, where if we want to, we don't need to think. And we've had discussions in the past about the importance of thinking and things like that. I see it as something which, well, let me go back to my early days. Clive, you were in the accounting world as well at one stage. I had to learn to cast and cross-cast numbers. No, not even a calculator. I was sitting on Covent Garden with fruit and vegetables, sitting on the staircase, casting and cross-casting numbers. And then the calculator comes out, and my family's amazed that I can still add up numbers like this. And I just wonder if it's more than just adding up numbers. Having to go through that process has sort of equipped me, I think, better for life in other ways other than accounting and adding things up. It's it's very much the evolution of humanity, that there are certain skills that we need to be taught that have implications, broad implications, to enable us to evolve. Am I making sense there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Ron. You talk about accountancy. My wife's an accountant, and often I'm helping her with something, and she'll tap something out on the calculator and say, the answer's blah de blah, and I'll say, no, it's not. And usually what's happened is that she's got the decimal place in the wrong place. And in my head, when I do a calculation, I'm capable of doing a very approximate guess as to where the decimal place is, or what the actual order of magnitude of the number is. And she gives me a number and I just know it's wrong. And she can never, because she's a different generation to me, she can never understand how I can do that. So the calculator in some way has atrophied our ability to think about numbers.
Well, Ron, one thing that strikes me is that in life generally, in any particular discipline or profession, there's something we might call foundational thinking. And this without foundational thinking, you can't then exploit or further develop knowledge in practice. So I'm going along the lines that foundational education, foundational thinking possibly needs to be technology free or with a very minor role played for technology. And obviously I'm starting here from the kind of kindergarten, primary school level, where really it takes not just days or months, but actually years to become, if you like, a foundational human being in a learning sense. Then there's the second stage, which is once you've got the foundational level of understanding, you then build on it as you would in secondary and university education. So I'm wondering if there's a level of education which we need to reserve for primarily non-digital experiences and only introduce the digital when we're satisfied that whether it's young children or young accountants, they've actually got that foundational thinking, without which you're as likely to abuse AI as use it.
Yes, indeed. I think, let me come back to I'm conscious of the time, so let me come back to the question and ask you for a quick yes or no, or very brief. Does AI threaten the key aspects of humanity which have helped us evolve and survive?
Only if we let it.
Only if we let it. Okay.
And I've got a similar answer, which is yes, it does, because I don't trust humans to take the right actions.
All right. Okay. That's a good point to end.
In that case, we're doomed.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much, Dave. Thanks very much, Clive. I look forward to the next session.
Okay. Thank you.